Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Seven Square Podcast, Leadership Tips with Mr. Corey Sigue. I'm with Mr. Corey. How's it going, sir?
Oh man, it's all good today. Another wonderful topic for y'all. Man, I think this is a very underutilized tactic of like what or skill set. That's what we're going to talk about y'all today. But it's over here. It's cold. The weather has dropped from like 80 to about like 30. So I need Houston to make his mind up. That's all I'm gonna say.
I feel you. Yeah. And we are in the 20s here in Maryland. So I'm with you. And Corey, let's jump right into this topic because not enough people do this. And when they think they're doing it, they don't do it effectively. So the question of the day is, why do you need to listen more? Again, why do you need to listen more? And I'll kick it over to you, Corey, to get us started on that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give my statistics, people out here, a taste of my number skills. The majority, I'm just kidding because I don't have a figure in my head, but the majority of millionaires out there, they are more introverted and they all say that they listen more. So when I heard that, I stepped back and said, okay, well, that's a detriment to me because I like talking. But I really started thinking about, what does that have to do with them making money? What does it have to do with them building a business, scaling the business, getting to the $1 million, right? Becoming a millionaire? It's because information is being given to them and they are soaking the information up to then go implement it. Many times, myself included, we so busy, we want to talk, or just listen to response. Like, I'm just waiting and I'm like, he's talking. All right, cool. This is what I have to say. And I didn't register anything that you said. And now I'm thinking about honestly, how many millions of dollars do you think people lose a day in knowledge because they're so busy ready to like listen to respond rather than like listen to like really soak it in. This is so much out there that we don't get because we're just waiting for people. We're just waiting to then throw our 2 cents in, and then most of the time it doesn't even sound right anyway. But we have to start to step in rooms, and there's multiple layers. I'm about to kick it over to you, but there's multiple layers to this that we can discuss about why is it so important to listen even outside of money.
Oh yeah, that's good. And I think one of the reasons why, and you covered it, was we listen to respond. So when you even bring up a topic, I'm already triggered in my mind to be like, yeah, I'm gonna jump right on that. I already know what I want to say. And oftentimes we want to say things that we agree with and hear things that we agree with. So we reinforces what we believe in. And we're not willing to hear the other side, even if it'll help us. We just want to be right. And so do you want to be right or do you want to win? Or, do you want to get to the objective or do you want to just be right in what you believe? And so I think, the first thing is understanding that listening brings value to you and just sitting. We know that, and we could talk about how the brain works. We know that the subconscious mind processes information 2 times as fast as a logical mind, as a conscious mind. The subconscious mind is also the emotional mind. When we hear things, we get emotional immediately. If you immediately speak, you're speaking from emotion. And that is not going to take you down the path you want to go because then you're trying to be right. If you just take some time, listen, and digest the information, you can then start to think logically about what was presented to you and then see the opportunity in the information. A lot of people don't see the opportunity, and that goes to like losing the money or losing whatever the thing of value is because they don't digest the information long enough to see the opportunity in it. They just want to get, hey, I just got to tell Corey what I got to tell him. He going to hear my mind. He going to hear my ideas, and we just shoot down ideas from everybody else. So that first step for me, Corey, in listening more is just to be silent. Just tell yourself, when someone tells me something, I'm going to sit. And you don't have to be awkward because people like to throw that, well, I don't want to let the silence in me. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be silent. Let them know hey, you gave me a lot of information. I just need to process. Let me sit with it for just a couple minutes. Let me process it and then get back with you on it. But it's not awkward. I'm just processing. So that's my first step.
Yeah, so I would say listening in multiple levels, right? We talked about money. Even for myself, like when I teach people how to really get through and like how to really build a team, it's listening to then implement. And so a lot of times we'll sit there and an employee or the associate may say, "Man, these are all the things that's going wrong." And I'm just giving a situation here. Man, my I just found out my mom doesn't have insurance, like health insurance, and her kidneys are failing, and all this stuff. And so the manager there says they were so ready, you could see it, to be like, but your performance, blah blah blah, all this stuff. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. How do you think you're going to get the performance out of them? You need to listen to what she's saying, right? She has all these things going on in her life, and you're so ready to pounce and be like, but the performance, when in reality, the performance can get back to what it was if you just listen, right? You empathize with that person. You felt for them and just let it out, and then they get back to it, right? You even think about in negotiation, silence is golden.
Oh yeah.
So
Yep.
when I come to you and I say, and I just talked to Tyrus, you and I were just talking about a deal I had on the table for this. What's the price? I
Mm-hmm.
threw out my price, and then I'm silent because at this point, that is my price. A lot of people give away what they're talking about, like, or how they feel about things, because they say, well, what I really want to do is I'll go ahead and charge you $7,000. And what that includes is blah, blah, blah. And what that really means is
Bingo.
this and that. You don't feel comfortable with the figure you just told me about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you
Yeah.
continuously talk to try to tell yourself that it's okay to justify, like you're really justifying it to yourself.
That's
When
good.
someone tries to sell you, think about a car salesman. Oh man, you can walk out it on the lot today. Let me go ahead and get you, and they're leading you into the room. Let me go ahead and get you the paper signed up and everything. Okay, cool. And then we go ahead and get silent, because it forces you. And a lot of the majority of people in life are passive aggressive. Like, I don't know if you've kind of like, well, you and I have talked about it before, Tyler. It's like
Mm-hmm.
there are people who will be like, man, we're about to go run 10 miles today. And this person's like, I guess I'm running 10 miles today, instead of saying no.
Right.
Um, Meanwhile, you have some people who are just like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. But listening is so powerful, because once you implement the part of where you listen in certain things that you do, we just talked about negotiation. We just talked about understanding employees to see how we can then get there. Sometimes you got to sit in silence sometimes. And like Tyra said, it can get awkward, but honestly, almost every time the first person to speak is the first person to show their hand in most
Yep.
situations.
Every time. Hey, negotiation tactics tell you that first person that speaks in that silence, they lose. That's the and Corey, you hit something. I want to direct the next few comments I'm about to make to really any business, but definitely the coaches, consultants, service providers, people out there just selling. When you go and you try to just talk, throw up on a person with what you're doing, what you bring to the table, how you gonna change their life, blah blah blah, you're losing the person because you're telling them about you. You're not listening to hear what they want or what they need or what they require. So great coaches, great consultants, it's not about you telling somebody what to do. It's about you asking the right question and then listening. And the better questions you ask, the better answers you get. And when you hear and digest the solution or it's not even the solution, it's the proposal, the clarification, the thing that you give them so they can go and implement. You got to listen to get that. You could be quick. A lot of coaches are quick to tell somebody what they need, how they need to do it. You should work this way without ever fully hearing the problem. And of course, Corey, you know that when you ask somebody what's going on, the first thing they tell you is not the real problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is most of the time the symptom of the problem. And most coaches and consultants jump right on that symptom. I solved it. I saw the symptom. But then when they find out the client's still hurting, they're like, oh, well, what happened? You didn't get to the root by asking the right question, and you did not listen well. You were too concerned about what you brought to the table versus hearing what they needed. So that was for my coaches, consultants, service providers, salespeople. Ask the questions and then just stop and listen to the response so you can figure out the next move to make.
Yep. And I want people to really start to think about listening in this way. And I wish I had a cup right here to show y'all with some soda. I don't really drink soda like that, every now and again. But think about, you got your glass and you like shake it up, right? You shake that thing up. And so what you'll see is you have, if it in like soda, you would have the bubbles all in it, right? You had the bubbles all in there. Until you stop shaking and sit back and watch, you'll start to see the bubbles separate from the rest of the drink. That's what listening does in real life, because you're in the moment and it's all shaken up and you're trying to interject and you're not comprehending what's being said. You know, a good old coach, you say all the time, the cream rises to the top. It take time for that cream to rise to the top, though, because when you mixing and all that stuff, or you churning, whatever the thing that you're doing, it's all mixed up in there. So if you try to dive in there right now, I can't get no cream. I gotta wait for it to settle, and then it starts to separate. Y'all ever had something just sitting there, maybe some oil in it or whatever? That oil starts to separate from whatever you're doing. So that's the same principle in life, though. You have to sit back, wait for all that commotion to stop, and then say, Tyrus mentioned, I'm not coming from the emotion, I'm coming from the logic. Okay, cool. Now this is what I need to do. Okay, cool. Now this is how I need to respond, because everything has separated. You talked about the symptom. A lot of times, this baffles me. We talk about in leadership, you need to get to the root cause of what happens to someone. Same thing in coaching, consulting, everything. But we just jump on that first thing that we hear. Oh man, well, this person's not treating me right. Oh, I can't believe they're not treating you right. Okay, cool. But what you didn't get down to the root cause is that you don't show up on time, is that you're not putting forth the effort every day, is that when they ask you to update that timesheet, you never do it, is that when they tell you update that schedule, you never do it. And then now the symptom is, man, I don't get treated right. Or man, my performance doesn't look like this. Or man, I can't book customers because of this, right? And one question that I like to ask people is, especially when they say, man, I want to open a business, I want to do something else. And Tyrus, they will tell me something completely different that they said that their skill set is. They'll be like, man, I'm really great at let's say, I don't know. I'm really great at leading teams and building morale and all this stuff. Okay, cool. And inspiring people. Okay, cool. So what do you want to do? Well, I think I'm gonna start making action figures.
Photography business.
Right. Yeah. That's don't get me started on photography. I want to be a photographer. And I'm like, okay, well, let me ask you this. Are you burnt out by, your particular function and your job role right now? And they'll say, well, no, not really. Well, no, not really. I could jump on that and be like, well, why don't you do this? You got to ask some more questions. Okay, cool. So what makes you want to go into photography? What's your vision for the photography? What transferable skills did you just explain to me? Go over into photography. And then all of a sudden, every single time when I ask that question, I'm like this. Because we shook it up. And I need you to process it, and I want you to come back. Because if I say, well, tell me what transferable skills come to there, because you just told me X, Y, Z, and you told me that you like motivating people and you like inspiring people and you're good at leading teams and you can do all this, but now you want to go to photography. All of a sudden, it sounds like I'm very much attacking you now.
Exactly.
So you have to pause, you have to get back, you have to understand that listening to people and putting it back on them also gives them a chance to express what that actual root to everything is.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So let's go and wrap this up. Listening is important. Old folks used to say that's why you got 2 ears and 1 mouth, because you need to listen more than you speak. Listening helps with clarification. Listening stops missed opportunities. Listening helps build relationship. Listening helps you get to the real root of the problem. Listening helps you win the negotiation. Listening will take you to the next level because you're able to digest, allow the bubbles to clear, and see what's really going on in the situation. And so, if you have a hard time listening out there, just tell yourself mentally, set up some kind of process to say, you know what? And going forward in my conversations, I'm going to listen more than I speak. And it doesn't have to be weird. You can tell people, you know what? I'm practicing this new thing where I'm listening more than I speak. So if I'm more quiet than normal, ain't nothing wrong. I'm just doing something new. That's it. I don't, and I know this off on a tangent. I don't get, Corey, why people just afraid to say what they mean, or is afraid to
Mm-hmm.
just say what they're thinking, or afraid to just say what it is. It's like you would rather the situation be uncomfortable than to just say I'm starting something new. So
Yep.
I'm gonna let you get your last words on that, Corey, and then we'll close this thing out.
No, I think that's it. I definitely believe that listening will get you further in life than it will talking. Take it from me, I had to learn that lesson, and that honestly, that's all I got to say on that one.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, thank you guys for joining us for another edition of the Seven Square Podcast Leadership Tips with my main man, Mr. Corey Sigue. Make sure you go back to the YouTube channel, watch the previous episodes that we've dropped. If you missed any, we drop in 15, 20 minutes at most for everything. So this is your lunchtime gig. Hey, if I'm on lunch and I'm driving, I just want to get some quick motivation, some quick insights, some quick tips. This is where you want to be at the Seven Square Podcast. And we'll see you next time.